Today, we've seen stocks making new all-time highs. However, does that do anything to disrupt this stat that we have going on for this week? Now, when we come over and look at how the indices fared across the board today, the Dow was up 66 points, NASDAQ up 157 points, S&P 500 up 29 points, with the Russell 2000 being up 1.42. Now, when we look at advancing issues versus declining, we had 54.6% of issues advancing on the day. Then as we come over and look at the sectors, technology by far outpacing everything else. The laggers out there, communication services, followed by consumer defensive. Now, we come over and look at a chart. Yes, that's cool. NASDAQ making all-time highs. S&P 500 making new all-time highs. However, was it really all that good? Because when we come over and look at the volatility index real quick, notice the VIX was actually up on the day. If I put this on the 30-minute chart, here's a gap up on the VIX. So with the markets making new all-time highs, why do we have the VIX up 66 cents or up 4.27%? Now, I know what you're probably thinking. In yesterday's video, I shared with you guys this stat brought to us that shows that this week is historically a very bearish week for the market. And with that stat, it also showed that both Monday and Friday are the weakest days of the week within this stat, which goes back 50 years. It shows that we've only been up 9 times, down 21 times when we've been up from August OPEX till September OPEX, more than 1%. However, if we look at I want you guys to pay attention to the average weekly gain or loss. Now, for the week, the average loss is going to be almost 1% drop. Now, that's really nothing in the context when we keep making new all-time highs. However, speaking of new all-time highs, we come over and look at gold. Gold today making another new all-time high. And if we look right here, some experts are saying gold could reach $4,000 by the middle of 2026. Let me know in the comment section down below. What is your prediction? How high do you guys think gold will actually go? Well, now if we come back over and look at the SPY today, which made a new all-time high, notice the SPY was up $3.14. Now, if we look at the SPY on a 30-minute chart, basically this morning we open up, we gap a little bit lower, but then we ultimately go on up and we close near the session highs. Now, if we look at the equal weight S&P 500, RSP, notice what do? Well, we gapped down today. How come we were unable to come all the way back up and fill the gap? We can see that the equal weight S&P 500 was actually down 0.39%. So let that sink in for a minute. If you added up all 500 stocks of the S&P 500 and gave them all an equal weight, the index as a whole is actually down for the day. Well, part of that is because of, if you look at Apple rocket ship today up 4.32%. On the daily chart, big bullish candle. We look at Tesla early on, it was up, but formed potentially a shooting star type of candle. Now, when we come over, we look at how the S&P is actually weighted. Nvidia, Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, Meta, Broadcom round out the top 6 companies in terms of weighting for the S&P 500. We can see that Apple is 6.3% of the weighting of the S&P 500 and Nvidia's 7.4%. Well, if we come over and look at Nvidia, look at that big old candle we had up today. Nvidia was able to make it right back up near all-time highs. Nvidia up 3.93% on this session. Well, if we look right here, Nvidia plans to invest up to $100 billion in OpenAI as part of data center build out. Now, this is actually good for Nvidia because it looks like they're investing all this money, but guess what? These data centers are going to have to buy the Nvidia chips. Is this also a potential warning sign that we are indeed in some type of bubble? Now, as we come back over, look at the dollar index actually came down here a bit today. Dollar index down 0.31. Tomorrow, I want to pay very close attention to the volatility index. When the VIX starts to expand, quite often, that's when traders will start blowing up their trading accounts as they are unable to adjust the risk. Well, one of the ways that you can help reduce the risk, check out prop firms like Take Profit Trader, where you can save 40% off all the evaluation accounts. 0 activation fee. Take advantage of this offer. Use code epitome at checkout. Now, we come back over and look at the SPY real quick. Yes, new all-time high. 4-hour chart. Look at the MACD indicator, right? The lines are getting very close towards each other. Then over here on the 30-minute chart, notice we're starting to get that round effect of the MACD indicator at this point in time. Now, I do think that tomorrow, highly probable, we're going to come back and revisit the prior all-time high at 664.94. I do think we're on the verge of a potential at least a day or two pullback. We come over and look at the news for tomorrow. Well, tomorrow, 9:45, we have flash manufacturing PMI coming out along with flash services PMI. And then we have the Richmond manufacturing index. But something I did not see over the weekend, now they have Mr. Powell set to speak at 12:35. is Jay Powell about to throw cold water on this smoking hot rally. Now, as we come over and look at the futures markets real quick, look at the S&P 500 on the weekly profiles with a 4-hour chart. 2 weeks ago, we closed above value area high. We still have not come back and tested it. Now, the rule behind that is either last week or this week, we're going to come back to 66.05. We're not there yet. Then this past week, we closed above value area high as well. But notice what we did today. Today, we came down, we tested that level, we rallied back up. Now, if we come back down here again, I do think the point of control, value area low are high probability targets. As the market migrates, starts to focus down here at 66.05, that untested value area high from a few weeks back. And if we zoom this out real quick, I want to show you guys that would be nothing in the context of things, because if we were to pull a fib from the low right up here towards the high, and this is going back from the beginning of September, notice the 50% retracement is just below where that untested value area high comes into play. Then as we come over, look at the daily profiles on the 30-minute chart, one of the areas I do want to focus on is going to be kind of this minus development area all up in here. I do think highly probable tonight we come back and visit that level. So as long as we stay below the point of control, I want to look for lower prices. And you might say, Mike, you're crazy. The markets only go up. And yes, this morning on the live stream, I did feel a little bit crazy when I was shorting that move on the way up. And if you guys don't want to miss the next time I go live, make sure you're subscribed and you have the bell notifications turned on for all. Now, in the event that we are able to break value area low at 67.24, I then want to turn my attention right over here to a quick little scalp down towards this little structure area right here, about 67.18. Below that, look for a retest of the lows. And then below that, that's when I really want to start to focus on some of these weekly volume profile targets in the 4-hour chart. This is where I think we have a shot of coming back down, retesting that value area high, point of control, and then potentially some of the lower targets we have down below us. Now, as we come over and look at the QQQs today, good separation of the MACD indicator right below the charts. We have this large gaping gap still not filled just yet. On the 4-hour chart, you can see that last 4-hour candle a little bit weak. MACD indicator still looks strong on the 4-hour chart, showing no signs of weakening at this moment. But then as we come over and start looking at the 30-minute chart, notice as we push up to new all-time highs, notice, did the MACD indicator make a new all-time high? The simple answer is no, absolutely did not. Does that mean we can't go higher? It does not. But the odds are favoring that in the near future, we are likely going to get some type of correction, especially when everybody thinks the market can never go down. Now, in the event tomorrow we break above value area high and we start coming back down, I'd want to start to target some of these high volume nodes, one of them being right below value area low at 600.18. Below that, look back at today's low, but then I want to turn your attention. Let's not forget that large gaping gap that we have left behind, and that's going to get filled down here about 590.02. Now, I'm not making the case where I think necessarily we make it all the way down there tomorrow, but I do think sometime this week, highly probable we'll make it down towards that area. From the current price, for that gap being filled, would only be roughly a 2% drop in the market. That is nothing when you really look at how far the market has been able to move ever since the April low. Now we come over and look at the weekly volume profiles on the 4-hour chart. Now, unlike the S&P 500, the NASDAQ last week did close above value area high. And overnight, we barely missed hitting that value area high. 24,737.25 was value area high. The low was 24,748.75. So we missed it by about 11 points or so. And the rule behind that is it's still highly probable this week or next week we're going to hit this level. And let's not forget, we still have the untested value area high left behind from the prior week before that. Now, in the event we start coming down, I do want to focus, and I talked about this in Sunday's video, somewhere right here about 24,650 down to about 24,646. And that's how I got myself in a little bit of trouble this morning, looking for that lower target I just gave you. Now on the live stream, we kept talking about this high liquidity area that we had right up in here. You can see we had 156 contracts sitting right up there around 950. And I joked about it. It would be funny if we go up there and take it and hit 25,000. However, I was still in disbelief on the live stream. Yes, I knew we had a big seller up, but I was still in the mindset where I thought we had a good shot of coming right back down and testing this level, which I still think at some point this week, we are going to make it down towards that price point. Now we come over, look at the daily profiles on the 30-minute chart. Notice we have value area high right up here at 25,024.50. In the event that tonight or tomorrow we break above it, and the moment we start coming back down, I want to target that point of control. Below that, I think we come back into the minus development area, but then I'd want to target this next high volume node at about 24,922. Below that, we can look to target value low at 24,875. And then really this next high volume node down here about 24,849. And we'll see if that economic data coming out tomorrow will be enough to go ahead and push the NASDAQ down towards some of those lower price points. Now, if you guys like to learn a very simple order flow trading strategy, then you want to check out this next video right here.